honestly, if you can get to the point where you stop, you're always your hardest critic. Stop overthinking what you're doing. And yes, you should do it 100 times, because the first time that you put together a script for a listing or a buyer, like, I know that you stumbled through that, and you probably still do if you're not doing it every single day. Like, you're not going to just walk on pro field and MLB and hit some home runs.
Right.
Like, you're gonna they're gonna hit the ground. You're gonna have people diving for a minute. It takes time.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today's guest has leveraged her experience in public relations and marketing to accelerate her real estate success. She has lived in Jacksonville area for over a dozen years, graduating from the University of North Florida. She was an NFL cheerleader with the Jacksonville Jaguars and has held leadership positions in marketing and recruiting. Now she's a rising star as a real estate agent. Let's welcome this recent mom of two, Taylor Allen, to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Great. Combing your social media. Obviously, we've got a lot of recent photos. How many months has it been from
number 2? I just turned 5 months.
5 months. Yes.
We've got our hands full.
Yeah, because the other one is what? Is 2?
She's 4 months from 2. Yeah.
Wow.
2 under 2.
2 under 2. Yeah, you do. Any plans for more?
Yeah, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I need a little.
All right.
Of a break.
Well, it's one thing I find fascinating. We have a lot of in this area, a lot of successful women in real estate. I mean, really, business mind just blows my mind. Young business women really doing well with it. And then also, here you got 2 under 2, and I see you're running around. I mean, there was one video, I can't remember if it was on TikTok or Instagram. You're like 8 months pregnant and still, going at it. yeah. So you're an inspiration to many out there.
Well, I definitely think, being a mom, and we are the best multitaskers. So having the ability to be self-employed and kind of run alongside that, and my schedule work for me and my babies.
We'll definitely dig into that and how you do that. I know, because you and I know, as a lot of people get into real estate, it's because they think they can control or have a more flexible schedule. You may have control. You have a little more control.
Yes.
Flexible, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely not more hours in your pocket. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So, a question I always ask, because obviously you mentioned in your bio and stuff, you moved here. I assume you moved here to go to UNF. Looking at your time scale there.
Yeah. So actually, my parents are separated. So up until my senior year, I was living with my mom. We bounced around a ton. Not a military family. I think they just got bored easily. And I was living in New Mexico for the longest I'd ever been in one place. And they were like, surprise, we're moving again to Virginia. And at the time, my dad was here in Florida. And I was like, Florida definitely sounds better. Let's go there.
Virginia's not a bad state. I got relatives in Virginia, but yeah.
So it was beautiful. Of course, visited them up there. But I came to Florida, jumped straight to work in senior year of high school, and then stayed and attended UNF.
And so young Taylor, 18, 19 years old, walking in the UNF. What's your vision of a career? Did you have any idea what you wanted to do?
So I really started and wanted to go into broadcasting journalism. I worked at a time for Channel 4, and a lot of people I talked to were like, run away, the hours and the pay. But I've always loved that. So my degree is with a concentration in public relations. And even my professor at UNF was like, if you want to make money, you need to get out of this field. I was like, oh, snap, okay.
Right. There's a lot of, just the term that comes to my mind is just, sweat equity in that. You have to put your time in. You have to pay your dues in the broadcasting world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed my time at the news station shadowing. I met some incredible people. I still think I would have loved that career, but I definitely found a different way in which I could leverage and make some more money as well. So
advance the career. Yeah. All right, so you graduate from UNF. And correct me because I'm just going down through your LinkedIn. My timing wise, if it's off a little bit, you've got the internship at was that
Channel 4.
Was that right after you graduated?
Yes.
Yes, it was right after you graduated there. And then you are able to, quickly start leading a marketing department?
Yes, so I bounced around quite a bit. I've always had blended roles where it was sales and marketing. So I was in a position where it was a smaller business. I ran both for a software firm. And then I transitioned to the title of marketing director, but that was probably a very fancy title for the role. Mm-hmm. But I did wear many hats. So from there, I helped the owners social brands, help them develop a coaching program, as well as run everything behind the scenes for their marketing company. So that was awesome, but again, just wasn't my place to be.
Right.
I quickly pivoted, and I've always worked multiple jobs. So I was also in the bar scene at this time, but I started to create my own social media management company and kind of guided myself through that, finding clients in which I represented them, creating ambassador programs for them, running their social media, coming up with branding strategies, and I had a small house of individual clients there.
At UNF, were they, because I don't know, today, obviously, a decade later, 12 dozen years later, they may have different courses, but really at that time, were the colleges are really teaching what you need to know? I mean, the whole social media thing that you started to dabble in as you're in your young 20s is a lot of self-taught.
Right, completely self-taught, honestly, because my focus was advertising and the public relations. So, of course, maintaining the image of companies or individuals, but not necessarily utilizing social media. I think that popped off after I graduated from UNF. Of course, it was there when we were using it, but even if I go back now, the use of the platform is completely different.
Yeah.
So it really did become self-taught between my time. Again, I'm probably jumping ahead, but with the Jaguars and modeling, a lot of that was social media and starting to connect and network through there too. So a lot
some of the same people, especially I imagine the the videographers and those guys are starting, to dabble into what they can do with their artwork, basically, if you would call it that. Right. At that time, you start to interact with these guys because this stuff is constantly changing.
Oh, constantly, every day. I mean, even now, this past week, with all of this stuff coming out about TikTok, the Instagram platform is completely redirecting their strategy too. So it's an ongoing learning process with that. But I'll say about 6 years ago, it really started to transition to where you could leverage it more so for businesses. I mean, individual creators, but every business is on social media too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just general question, jumping obviously to real estate and social media. How important is it for agents to have a social media presence? And some do it at different levels, but I had George Guerrero from down in South Florida, and he has a brokerage. He has nearly 500 agents. He's a video. That's what the three things you need to do. And his idea in the mid 2000, 6, 7 was he wanted to make basically a movie out of every house he listed. That's how important he thought video was, and he still has that same mentality today. Video
is definitely the king of marketing and social media. Mm-hmm. You have to think, in any facet that you use social media, first of all, why wouldn't you? It's a whole untouched market that's completely free to you. So you don't have to go out and have a videographer develop some huge masterpiece. So what you can do in Reels at this point, or with your own, iPhone, I'm an iPhone girl, at this point is huge, and it's just little clips that trend fast. You have the ability to use trending music that helps you pick up a whole nother market. And in real estate, you can get a lot of referrals from that too. I've generated a lot of referrals outside of my immediate market from social media. But video ultimately is king. You have to think, you're putting a face to the name and a personality, so you already kind of skip forward in that level of trust with potential clients and prospects there because they feel like they know you. And if you're really utilizing it and optimizing it, you're providing a lot of education and information on the front end. And so they don't question you when you get to that meeting or you get to that appointment because you've already established some level of trust just with evergreen content.
Amen, sister. That's what I keep telling everyone. I don't think, actually, that's probably one place I did not look was your YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. I did not look, but because I think YouTube is the library. and you're filing away your listing you're doing today, and you're putting the right, the neighborhood and the street name, all that stuff is in there. When someone 3 years from now goes and says, hey, I want to look at houses in this neighborhood, that video is likely to pop up, and then they're seeing you and go, oh, Taylor sold a house there. Oh, it just happened to be just down the street. Maybe I should call her. And you don't know where that connection comes. But the other thing that you were mentioning, I think is so important that people don't realize, is we are building that relationship. I'm going through your social media. I meet you for the first time out here in the hallway. I've already got, this whole thing. I mean, you and your husband had a date night the other night, right?
Yeah.
But today's my 16th anniversary. Where'd you guys go to dinner? Because we haven't just had.
I highly recommend that. It's a shameless plug, but it was delicious.
What was the name of it?
Oku. Jack's Beach, yeah.
And Jack's Beach, okay.
Yes, we did our own kind of self-guided omakase. It was delicious.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, maybe we'll see if she wants to go out there, because we're trying to do whether good tonight, tomorrow night, because we're juggling our kids' events and what they've got going on too. But you're seeing that person numerous times, you're hearing them talk, you're seeing their mannerisms, and people don't realize your brain does not differentiate when you're looking at the screen versus being face-to-face as we are now.
It is. It's just our world right now. And so why would you not leverage that? And I understand that there's a difference. I've been on camera for quite some time. So it takes people, a minute to get acclimated with that, feel comfortable. But I think what translates even better is not the perfectly scripted videos. It's going to be where you mess up and you're like, what's going on with me?
Right. Mispronounce a word or like street name or something.
That, like people are watching it and they're so engaged and they're not realizing that they're like nodding along with you, smiling with you, or then a referral. Maybe they're not purchasing or selling right now, but oh my God, I just watched this agent and you've got to watch her stuff. Like just imagine how she'll market your house, or she was so knowledgeable and now I feel like I know the whole process and it was so easy. And I think it's such an untapped market in social media, or in real estate, social media and real estate, because people aren't utilizing that so much. Like they are more heavily maybe relying on their broker to do the marketing for them, but that's just not the case. Like you're an individual representing that brokerage. And so, yes, like a lot of brokerages will post up what they've got going on for teams and they're marketing themselves to agents, or they'll market the property, but in what facet? They're posting up a picture. That doesn't make people feel like they know that property. I can't tell you how many leads. I think it's well over 75% of my business has been generated from property tours, but including some personality with them too. Right.
The authenticity. Yeah. That's the word now. Yeah. You got to be authentic. Even the Carrie Sauve that I had on a couple weeks ago, who's an AI expert, EXP's official AI consultant, she even says you can't replace yourself on the video. And you can do it with AI. You can even make it look like you. Yeah. Most people won't even know the difference. But she says don't do that. Yeah. Be authentic. And I think, like you said, the fact that people discount their little, I do it all. I mean, 199 episodes, right? If I go back to my first ones, I know how because I'm thinking of questions, thinking of things I want to get across, because I don't script it. Yeah. And you're just putting it out there. So you mispronounce words, or, you stutter on some stuff. But the people watching know they're not perfect. Yeah. And the question I wanted to turn back to is your experience having been in front of the camera, worked at the TV station and so forth. Some of the people that are very regimented, I'm sure there's some that are scripted. They don't have a script, they can't talk. Yeah. Right? They're so perfect from reading that script and look perfect on video that some people are like, this person's too perfect for me. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like I struggled with that in the beginning too, because we're always our hardest critics. And even though I had been on camera, like the news area versus like the social media area is it's very different, right? So maybe even like personality and authenticity definitely translates there, but you're working off of a script. So that's what I was kind of used to. Right. And it's taken me some time to just kind of throw that out the window. Like stop being perfect, you mess something up. That's the stuff that goes viral. Right, exactly. It's not like you sitting there perfect. And so if you go back, like you see my perfectly curated Instagram, like the pictures, the color format, and that's completely changed for a time that trended. And now it is definitely authenticity, because we are just a very social world, and that's how we're building relationships. Yeah. 100%. I talk more to people on social media than I do on the phone or in person, honestly.
I've told people I've done many loans through direct message, whether it's Facebook or text message over the phone. All right. So when does the opportunity, I mean, did you touch on the Jaguars here a little bit? When does the opportunity to cheer there? Is that something you had always done, had a passion for? How do you fall into that?
I was always a singer and a dancer. That's my background growing up. That was like what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was in acting school, singing lessons, all of that stuff. I never honestly even thought about modeling. That kind of happened once I got to Florida and I transitioned out of acting. But the Jags came into play because I was looking for an outlet when I moved here my senior year. And I got on the UNF dance team, also completely different from what you would think of as cheer, but the Roar is really a dance team as well.
Right.
You're not doing like the stiff-armed technical cheers, you're actually dancing on the field. So my coach there was a Roar alumni, and so she encouraged me to go out, meet with the coach, and go through the audition process.
Cool.
And I made it. So
awesome.
That was not anything that I ever expected to do in my life, but it's really neat to look back on.
Right. You do a lot, some of the things you've mentioned, and obviously cross-reference with some of your professional jobs that, from a marketing and the PR standpoint. You're having to go out there. You're the face of a lot of times at these promotional events. The player may show up, but there's 3 or 4 of the cheer there. Tell us some of the things that you experienced you had, and then throw in there a couple maybe good stories for us.
Yeah.
Good memories that you had from that.
No, I mean, that was fantastic. And I didn't know what to expect walking in. Like, I hadn't even ever considered auditioning for an NFL team. I just kind of did it, and it worked. But, over my time there, seasons from 12 to 17, it was a ton of marketing and PR. And of course, for the Jaguars and the Roar, I was on the first trip over to London. We predated the players going over there. So we were the face of the team marketing for the upcoming games. And then I went there 14 other times.
Cool.
So from podcast, like time on the station, time on TV networks, Soccer AM, all that stuff, interviews with Esquire. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was really cool.
They kind of picked you out for that because of your background? Because I imagine not all the cheerleaders
Correct.
got that ability.
Yeah, there was, of course, there's, the coach has ultimate say on who gets into the calendar, who's making, cuts for this, that, and the other, who is making certain appearances. In London, we all did appearances, but whether they were TV, radio, or in person, she selected that for draft party, everything. So those were all selected. So I was honored to be chosen for each of those and have the opportunity to speak and leverage my background and what I was really passionate about in that space as well. And I think, not everyone did treat that opportunity as a way to network and kind of get their boots on the ground and prospect for future things. But I definitely always regarded that position and looked at it as if I was making relationships for the future too. So I still do have a lot of those relationships that have carried over into business.
I want to step back. I'm asking this actually from a semi-personal standpoint because my daughter has sung the national anthem at the shrimp game.
Oh, awesome.
She did the preseason game at the Sharks a couple months back. Not a scheduled game. It was just they're bringing in the Duval County kids were the fans basically for a little preseason game. So she's in the drama. She's not doing so much dance, but she definitely, when it comes down to the school play, she's the only 5th grader that was 2 5th graders in the middle school play. They brought her up but she's done a dozen plays now in the dance routines. I mean, she's gets them down. But you sang the national anthem.
Yes.
In front of, obviously, 50, 60,000 people there. What does it take to get to that level to where they're confident for the National Football League? I imagine they have a little different requirement than Jumbo Shrimp. Jumbo Shrimp was a tryout. They did have to try out, and they went down there. But to reach that level, they have to have some level of confidence in you.
Oh, yeah. So, and with the Roar, you go through an audition process every year. You're not grandfathered in. So there were a lot of people that had to step away from their position with them. Every year, I incorporated song into my dance routine. So I usually started singing a portion of my routine and then through the microphone and finished with the dance.
Right.
Just to stand out too. They want to see other things. We've seen people do baton, gymnastics, like everything. And other people have sung as well. So I always incorporated that and then maintained, that my coach had that knowledge, obviously.
Right.
So they asked me if I would be interested. I actually, for that game with the Falcons, I didn't have to go through an audition. I went through, obviously, multiple test runs in the stadium. And then there was another time that I almost had a heart attack because they were like, man, some people didn't show up. We need you to sing. I'm like,
they didn't show up?
Wait, I didn't practice for 3 weeks. But they got it covered. So they wound up having the D-line do something. So let me go back and do that again. I was kind of traumatized because after we had Monster Jam like that following year in the stadium too. And so they had me do it for that. And practice went great. And then during the performance, my headset went out. And I just kept seeing people like doing the cut sign and like stop. And I didn't stop because I was like, there's no way I'm stopping in the middle of this song. They were telling someone else to stop. And I was going through it. I couldn't hear myself. I had to take my headset off and everything. But I watched it back and I was like,
are they putting a full-fledged in it or just one of those little earpieces?
It was like the little earpiece and
yeah.
it was not working. So I was getting all the reverb of the Jaguars stadium.
Right. Interesting.
Not working, but
people say it's one of the most difficult things to sing.
That song is not easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you definitely want to practice, and you definitely want to be warmed up for it too, especially hit those high notes in the end. So I always like to bundle your pre-real estate experience, not necessarily bundle it, but take that pre-real estate. So whether it was things that you did with the Jaguars, which you had already been doing some drama and getting out, standing on stage and so forth. So, being out there, but then again, besides the swimsuit thing, being out in the little outfit in front of everybody also is a whole nother thing for people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Being on stage in a costume, that's one thing, but now you're out there in, we'll just say a bathing suit, more or less.
Or in your knickers in the middle of, like, Piccadilly Square.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different level of confidence that you have to have. And then obviously I imagine part of being an NFL cheerleader, and because you're doing all these PR events, is you have to be approachable. Am I right? Because that's one of those things I want to say. If you're out there, that people aren't afraid to come up to you and say hi, and and all the the kids, the young girls who want your autograph or whatever. Yeah.
And that doesn't come easy. From performance to like having to have face-to-face interactions. I'm actually a very reserved person, but what's funny about that is my whole experience of what I love to do is very outgoing. So even though I may be a little bit more introverted at home, all of the things that I've done in my life, from sales, dancing, being on stage, doing all these PR events, I literally have to tell myself to turn it on. And it's one of those moments where you always have that rush of adrenaline and your heart is pumping and you're scared out of your mind no matter what you're doing.
Right.
And then you do, but you just have to everything is a performance, right? Even in real estate, if you're walking into your listing appointment and you're like, I don't want to mess up, what if they don't like me? Everything is a performance. So I literally turn it on. And it's just been one of those things that I've done for so many years, because otherwise if you start to overthink or you start to question yourself, like that's when things go wrong and you let doubt creep in. So I just kind of separate the two people and go into my alternate.
That's because I think that's so important for young people today. You could go back to how young you started, doing drama or whatever. You're out in front of, you start singing. You can relate that. If you can stand up and sing, you hopefully can stand up and do a presentation in a boardroom, right? And in front of 10, 12 people. The public speaking, not necessarily public speaking to tens of thousands of people, but just being a leader in whether it's in your office or, like you said, doing a listing presentation, and you have a couple sitting there, and you're doing because you've done it so many times, your body goes through these things, cold sweats, nervousness, butterflies, whatever you want to call it, but you know how to control it, and it's part of the process.
Right.
I think I kind of tell my wife, I said, it's the challenges that I want to put my kids through. You've got to put them in some uncomfortable positions, or they have to. I don't think enough people today have accomplishments, where I've made a team, I've done that play, I've learned these lines, I've done something, and actually can put a notch in their belt, so to speak, and build on that confidence. So when they are an adult, and it's time to get up and, stand in front of, I don't know how many people are standing there for the Jaguars audition, and you're singing a song and dancing, which everybody else is doing something different. Yeah. And that's your individuality. That takes a lot right there. The fact that the other person isn't doing what you're doing. Right. There's no comparison. Right. You're on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that ever gets easier, right? You always have those feelings. You just, like you said, you learn how to control and overcome them. And once you do it a couple times, you do build that confidence. Like, I've done this before. You're still going to feel all of those things. I don't think it's ever gotten easier. One of my mental tricks has literally been to dissociate from what I'm feeling and focus on the goal. Because it is, as soon as I start to think or worry or go back over the notes or go back over my pitch, that's when I mess up.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got Heather Monahan's book up here. I had her on the show over a year ago. She came out of corporate America and she was doing well. A long story short, she's now, top 50 keynote speaker and so forth. But just going through her thing, like she talks about before she goes on, and she's done a TEDx speech and all that stuff. Yeah. And she has some music that she uses to settle her nerves, but she still goes through that same process, and she's got a speech, and especially if it's the first time she might be doing it. I mean, she's, obviously done it a bunch of times on her own, or the TEDx, they only give you, 15 minutes roughly, whatever, to talk. And you want to nail it like in 14 minutes and 59 seconds. You want to say, thank you, appreciate you coming. Yeah. Type of thing. So, but, getting that routine done, and you only do that by getting out and doing it.
Right.
That's my point there. So, I think we kind of went slightly tangent, but if you can think of just maybe a couple things, whether it was the PR stuff you're doing, director of marketing, things you did prior to real estate, that experiences that you go back on. I guess one of the things is doing the presentation in front of people. You've done that. You've practiced that in all different facets, singing the national anthem, the cheering and drama and all that kind of stuff. But when you get in the corporate world, director of marketing, because I think more people can relate to that than necessarily the cheerleading or the national anthem. What did you learn there that you've taken to your business, your real estate business?
I think I was working a lot on branding and development there, and then sales. So that helped me continue to work on my pitch in a more corporate environment, I guess, and a more professional environment, to work on actually the sale and the close of the conversation. Overcoming those fear and obstacles and objections, because no day was still ever the same, balancing the marketing piece, but then also building the brand for the CEO. And I think carrying over, it's management of individuals' expectations and understanding how to read a room, because everything comes down to the relationship that you're building. You're not going to sell someone if you're not clicking. If you can't really get down to what their pain points are, what they want to accomplish, what their goals are, and actually take the time to understand that and talk through that, it's not going to work out.
Right. When you go in first time, someone you've never obviously met before, you have a listing appointment, maybe a new buyer or something, maybe saw your listing color, however you met for the first time. You're now going to represent them. Of course, now with our lawsuit, right, they want the buyer's agreements. Now they actually want you to sit down, ideally, with that buyer before you. But what are some things that you go through, whether it's a lister or buyer, to kind of pull some of those things that you just mentioned out of them?
So I think that this is where social media gives me a big leg up. A lot of my clientele, I've never bought a lead. A lot of my clientele is through social media, or it's referrals and network. And it's not necessarily people that I know. It's about who I don't know and then who they know.
Right.
So connecting with them. And I think that a lot of them, having come through my social media or going to research after they hear my name, they look at all that and they understand the value that I'm providing, because they start to understand more about the transactions that they're going through or about the market, because I'm showing that information. I'm not just dancing and pointing it.
Right.
Words, which is fine. That works for trending too. I'm providing more value. So by the time I get in front of them, I've already kind of prefaced the conversation about how I want to get to know them and I want them to know who they're working with. So I'm establishing or reestablishing that basis level of trust. And as we go through everything, with buyers as well, I don't foresee that being an issue. I think that that's going to be fantastic for our businesses on both the client and the realtor side, we're protected. We spend a lot of time that people don't realize behind the scenes working for them, and there's a lot of clients that then don't wind up purchasing. I've never thankfully had anyone go to another agent, so I haven't had to work through that before.
Right.
But I've also never been questioned on the listing agreement. I think it's all about how you set the stage for that meeting and start to build the trust and build that relationship. And if I can provide value on the front end, they don't even ask me what my fees or my rates are. I've never been questioned on that.
Right.
But I'm providing the value, and then I'm showing them what they're going to be netting, and I'm telling them how it's going to work, what the process is going to be like, what to expect, and not once have I been questioned on that.
Have you ever gone into one where you have been referred, friend, family, whatever type of thing, but because obviously that when you're referred, it's a leg up. You've already got a credibility endorsement.
Of course,
it's someone related to them some way, shape, or form. Someone they trust you.
Yeah.
The type of thing. But do you? I think some people can take that for granted. How important when you go in there, sit down with that person again, you're meeting for the first time, even though you've got a little credibility check that you've been endorsed, that it's still important. What's your kind of like mindset when you go into that meeting?
I think it's even more important to reiterate how you're going to be there from contract to closing and beyond, because at that point, someone has trusted you to put their name on the line to refer you to that client or that prospect. And so I don't take that lightly. I mean, I work with a lot of clients, and they're just not those people that name drop or refer. So when somebody takes the time to tag you in something, to build a relationship and kind of get you in the door, I definitely do not take that lightly. I go through the same process, and if they only know me from that name, I make sure then that they know the educational piece as well. So I get to know them. What is it that they're doing? Why are they moving? What is important to them? Are they out of town? What's their timeline look like? And everything in between. I mean, I had a referral for a buyer, and this was a year and a half ago now. We had never met in person, but we met via Zoom and then a couple phone calls. I got to know them so well. I picked out their house before they even saw it. They closed on it and moved in, and they absolutely love it. They actually just called me for a roofing referral last week, but they're still so happy in that neighborhood. So I think, that's a big responsibility of the agent. And why sometimes we get a bad rep is because people don't do that. They don't care enough to listen. They treat them as a transaction and not as a relationship.
We got two things here. I don't want to write them down so I don't forget. That client that's in front of you at that moment, I think people in sales underestimate who the person could be in front of them. You've worked mixed and mingled with many names in town related with the Jaguars and so forth. So if you said their name, most people would know who they were or heard their name, even if they're not a football fan. They've heard them, right? So you've mixed and mingled with these people, so you kind of know where they're at. One thing we don't know is the friend they referred you to, we may not know yet, and he might be the CEO of some huge pharmaceutical company, and we only know his name. I mean, most people don't even know the vice president's name. So, you know what I'm saying? So, to go in there, how important or the mindset is to understand that even though you've been endorsed, you have a credibility leg up going into the meeting, and you're probably going to get the listing or represent the buyer because of that. Even if you went in there and stumbled on your words and didn't have the greatest presentation, the fact that you were endorsed by this other person, they're probably going to use you a lot of the time. But because you go in there polished with the mindset, you're hoping to make that person now that's in front of you the same advocate as the person that gave you that one. I mean, and how important that is to not only accelerate your business as it has so quickly in just a few years, but we're talking if you want to be doing this a decade, 20 years from now. Yeah.
I think that it comes down to the standard that you hold for yourself in your business. We all have bad days. We all have days where we just don't want to do it. But if you go into a relationship with that mindset, again, it's not about who you know, it's about who you don't know. So that person, you may not know. They may have heard of you. Maybe they went and did some research, some digging on social media, and then they had a friend that referred you. That gets your foot in the door. But that doesn't always close a deal, because your energy and your communication style does say a lot about you. And so it comes down to reading table cues, reading mannerisms, and actually asking the right questions. Not just talking about, of course you want to talk about and provide value for what you're going to do for them and how you can differentiate yourself. But I always start the conversation with trying to understand them, their kids. What do their kids like to do? Connect on some personal level so that it's not just a transaction and I'm not just another salesperson. Because at the end of the day, I didn't know them 5 minutes ago, but now I'm going to have the referrals for life. That is possible.
You're going to spend the next 30, 60 days with them, maybe even longer.
Right.
Houses are on houses are on the market a lot, longer now, but you're going to spend some time with them. You made a move recently.
Yes.
To Ponte Vedra Club Realty, right?
Yes.
Got that right. I always want to say inn or beach or whatever, right? This is Ponte Vedra Club Realty.
Yes.
And I would imagine, as all agents, they all think about, hey, I want to be in the luxury market, or, there's probably more real estate agents per square mile in Ponte Vedra than in most places in the United States, right? A lot of them live there. They want that client. It's like everyone. They want to sell the bigger item. It's a commission-based business. So I want the bigger loans. That's what I do, right?
Yeah.
That's all, because to me, it's the same amount of work to do a $200,000 loan as an $800,000 loan.
Maybe more work.
But from a professional standpoint, there's the one thing being, here's this energetic real estate agent type of thing. You're personalized. You talk about the kids, but then when you start there's also that clientele, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily always price point, but as you go up in price point, you're going to see them per sale. There also is a level of professionalism, because there are some of these guys who, they're Banksy, type guys that are, buttoned up and they always got a suit on type of people who expect that out of the people who are, in your case, representing them. I kind of think that a true real estate agent, as I had Holly Reeves Griggs on the other day, her professionalism in the level of working the beaches, that she's the type that they would invite her over for a house party and introduce her to their other level affluent people, right? So how when you're going in there into those things, are you feeling that out a little bit? How do you approach that customer? You feel that it might be that person that we all kind of stereotypical country club. You know what I'm saying?
I've had a couple of those.
Yeah.
No, I think first of all, luxury is a service, not a price point, and that's where a lot of people get confused.
That's what you guys keep saying, but I don't believe it.
Listen, and the price point can be luxurious also, but from my standpoint, the luxury is the service I provide. So whether it was just the $175,000 house I closed on, but I helped them from start to finish navigate the death of a parent, the move of a very difficult situation, the name that the deed was in is transferred to his sister, but the brother's living there. Whether I am hands-on in that situation or I'm hands-on in a $3 million oceanfront condo, you're going to get the same experience from me. That's where I say luxury is an experience, not the price point. There is different levels of clientele, and that's where, as a real estate agent, as a sales professional, you have to be adaptable. I think that most of us can read a room if we're in tune, right? So you walk into a situation and you can gauge somebody's personality or what they're expecting pretty quickly. A lot of people will be just as nervous to meet you as you would be to meet them, honestly.
Yeah.
They don't know what questions to ask. They don't know who to trust. Obviously that's why referrals help, but still they're going in skeptical. They don't know anything about the market. They just hear what the news is saying, and we know how that goes. So they are relying on you, and they are kind of blindly giving you some trust. But I think, I made this move. I've never believed that the name of the brokerage mattered. I've been at some incredible places, some younger brokerages that are doing fantastic things that I've referred a lot of new agents to. But I got to the point in my career where it wasn't just keeping money in my pocket. It was about additional services that I could offer my clients, or ways that I could help expedite my business. Time is money. So what could I take off my plate so that I could better just serve my clients and stay prospect and client facing, because I do take on a lot. I do more full service than a lot of realtors will do. I will manage all the contractors if we have to do projects. I'll meet everyone at the properties. I'll schedule those people at the properties. I
love that. I mean, I think that's something that differentiates you for sure, because most agents don't, and I don't know why. I mean, we talk about, again, to throw the NAR lawsuit in there, people are saying, oh, agents are making too much money. I mean, that's kind of like at least an underlying theme that we seem to be bouncing around out there. And, we're not saying that the agent has to pay to repaint the house or, pay to stage it necessarily, but you should facilitate it. Because I assume you're recommending them to do it, but that's the service. You're the one who's supposed to be the community networker, right? You deal with this all the time. So, fortunately, you have guys on a painting company, so that makes things nice. That's sweet, yes. But the other services, and I think talking to some of the best of the best here. I've interviewed 170 agents of the 199 episodes or more, and most of them, if we start talking about it, is having that guys on the speed dial who can take care of hey, we need this landscape freshened up. I got pictures coming in 2 days. I need you out here. Yeah. And they get out there because they know, and you may pay a little bit more because that's you're getting that service, but you have the ability to do that. Where others are like, who should I call? I look on social Facebook. I laugh sometimes when someone asks for some basic services, like, you're a real estate agent. You should already have the AC guy in your Rolodex.
Yeah. And it would take time if you were a new agent to build that up, right? And people don't want to share like juicy contacts. But you should at that point. And I think that honestly, a lot of agents are complacent, or for lack of a better word, lazy. They stop after the contract is written, and they may boast about the contract being written, but there's so much in between. I'm sure they can guide them through it, but I don't want my clients to have to come to me and say, what's next? Or to ask me something. I make sure that I'm ahead of every possible situation and that they know, I'm setting expectations, and that makes them feel comfortable too. So I think, again, circling back to that price point, the luxury price point, I've already been providing those services for clients, and as my overall prospect and client list has kind of shifted up towards that market, it's nothing that I haven't been used to. They like stuff expedited. They like to have people handle it for them. They're taking calls all day. They're in meetings all day. They don't have time to go schedule and meet the plumber or the cable guy or the security guy. They want all that done. They don't know who to call. They'd rather hire someone to do that. But if I'm already a part of the transaction, I'm offering that to them, because it's not just that one transaction with them. It's going to be the other people that they know, and then the next time they decide to sell and purchase.
I mean, I'm sure you'll agree. If you're an agent out there and you're not taking the bull by the horns like you do and taking control of it, because the thing is, you're trying to sell that house. Yeah. So if you put it on them, we don't know if you might be the fired agent, or it doesn't happen right away. It takes time, and then you're pulling your hair out going, oh man, I told you to get this fixed, and it's still not fixed, because they don't know people like you should know. And if you don't know an AC person, and I talk about brokerages, I mean, the people you surround yourself with, I guarantee you at Ponte Vedra, the core people there, the top people, they have every service on that Rolodex, or they have one go-to guy who handles a lot of that stuff. Right. And obviously they take care of him because they're getting immediate service or a reasonable amount of time and moving that house, because that's what you're supposed to do. Right. Instead of hand it off to somebody else, you don't know if it's going to get done. And then if you look at two different agents, you who take the bull by the horns and get things done, handle the things, meet the plumber because who knows, they're traveling or whatever, or the agent who hands it off. When it's all said and done, which client is going to be more happy? You know what I'm saying? Now, maybe even, of all other things equal, you say, well, I'm not getting it, it's only a $200,000 home. But dude, there are people out there that work may own a $200,000 home, but they work for a guy who owns a $2 million home out at the beach. And when they say, my God, the real estate agent we worked with was so awesome, you don't know if they're high school buddies or not.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You don't know what rock you may overturn. That's the great thing about sales. You don't know what's under the next rock.
Correct.
Yeah. Social media.
Yes.
I want to drill down a little bit. You've got some courses now. I just want to, the first question, you have 2 Instagrams, right?
Yes.
You have what's it, Sells Jacks, right?
Selling Jacks and then Get Taylor.
And Get Taylor.
Yeah.
With only one T.
Yes.
It's not G-E-T-T, it's G-E-T.
Yes.
Okay. Get Taylor. You do more personal stuff on the Get Taylor, if I saw that correctly. More business on the one. Your course is Select Air. Give us a little background. Why did you choose 2 Instagrams? Because that is a question a lot of people ask. Should I have a business one? Should I have, what's your mindset on that? And then tell us a little about your courses.
I think I've been asked that question a lot, actually, because I worked with a lot of new agents on some marketing and social strategies for them. And I think ultimately that's your decision. Why I did that is because I knew I had a couple different things happening on my personal social, what I was portraying, and then of course the family stuff. And I wanted to make sure that I could expedite my rise in real estate. And that meant posting every day or multiple times a day and pumping out a lot of content. I don't want to overwhelm necessarily my personal sphere with that all day, every day. Because I think at some point it could become a turnoff. But those people that have chosen to follow that account too, I know are there for a reason.
It would be interesting to compare, although you do have a lot more followers, I think, on the Get Taylor.
Yes. So my Selling Jacks page is only 3 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, my pages have completely shifted too, from the NFL cheer and Miami model to mom of 2, and now finding a whole new audience, right? So, but a lot of them, they do cross over at this point. But then, my Selling Jacks page is also a lot of referral agents throughout all of the United States. But I'm constantly checking that page and watching my requests too, because there'll be a lot of hidden requests for new business in there.
Just so how are you getting new business from people just searching for a real estate agent in Northeast Florida? Or how does that?
I've gotten
because you say a hidden request, which means it's somebody who's not your friend or not normally all of a sudden send it, because I get garbage all the time. People want to do my content management, and in them, so they're coming from someone who's not normally in your circle, right?
So if you're utilizing social media in a business way, or as even just an entrepreneur in there, you have access to insights, so you can see what amount of views or what percentage of views are from your following, those people following you, and from accounts that aren't following you. So you're either trending in some facet or being shared. You can see all of the shares. I mean, I have one reel that hit 340,000 something views. So imagine the realtors or prospects in other areas that came from that reel. They're not just in Florida. I've had referrals from Texas, from Wisconsin, from California, from agents who likely found me by searching hashtags and have come to my inbox in that way, and we develop the relationship, and then they hand their client over. And then prospects that are coming from tours. And I've asked, even previous players that show up in my inbox, every new person, I'll say, hey, thank you so much for following, or thanks so much for liking my video. What brought you to my page? And then I get a little more insight until I'm looking here, maybe it's a lead.
Hold on a second, you're on something hot right there. So someone just liked your listing on there. So you're hitting on their file and then sending them a message, say, I saw you liked my post.
Instant engagement.
And occasionally there's someone who's actually actively looking to buy or sell.
Yes.
Interesting.
Or I'll get into, you showed up on my For You page. That's interesting, because it's a social platform, but we had previously connected on the Jags and there wasn't anything there, so it's some of those things you can from there gauge either one, new prospects, or two, what's actually working in your content and what people are wanting to see without doing like a poll on, hey, what do you guys want to see? More houses? Or you're getting a gauge of what people are responding well.
Which is what social media wants. They want you to engage. There was something, I can't remember, it was on Facebook. Facebook will put up, hey, you've had some comments you didn't respond to, because they're trying to encourage people, because that's what it's socials to be social. That's
right. And the messaging engagement is tracking very highly right now too. But that also, as soon as you engage with those people, it'll keep your profile showing up to them. If you've got that back and forth conversation, even if it was one message, all of a sudden they're like, man, this person keeps showing up.
It's a brilliant tip. If you're sitting on the couch at night and you're hearing the ping on Instagram or whatever, just go on there and say, hey, thanks for liking me. What'd you like? Just something short. Yeah. Because that's what they want, and that's brilliant. As simple as that is, I don't think most people, I have a lot, because obviously I have all the agents, I put them out on the Instagram page, and I'll have people like, and there's some I go in there and look, especially if it looks like another real estate agent, because I want to, get them in the circle, right? An agent I don't know who's liking the agent I had in front of me. So that's, I'm going to start doing that.
It's from likes, from story polls, from messages back. And that I kind of developed into that and realized, right, just like with the turn of social media and how it's grown, different strategies have grown. And so that instant engagement is a really big one. It keeps you in front of them. And then people love that, It's okay, so yes, I've gained a little bit of a sense of who you are through your videos, but now this person's talking to me. Holy crap, So I was already following them and liking their content, and now I feel like there's a personal relationship building.
Yeah, tell us about the courses you created here. I did download the one free one.
Okay,
I just browsed it here this morning to see which is simple.
Free tidbits on there. And then, so my whole idea behind the courses, social realtor and social selling, I was getting a ton of questions on how my business was booming on social media. My first year, I think my percentage of social media leads closed was 76%, and then the rest was like referral and network, and that was 8 million in my first year. So that's exactly my tease for the course, was like closing 8 million my first year into a company.
That's what I said when I saw that. I said we got to talk about that. Okay, that's right. So your $8 million secret,
right? Yeah. And there's agents, closing 79 million, 30 million. What is 8 million? But in your first year into something completely new, building a completely new foundation for your business, that's huge.
That's huge, yeah.
In an industry where most people, I think last year, a lot of people struggled to sell one house.
Yeah, 49% sold one house or less. 75% of the agents sold 6 houses or less. Okay. Yeah.
So, between that and then between like my educational piece and not having to negotiate on my price points because I see the value, it never comes up. We've had a very healthy couple of years. But I had a lot of questions from new agents and even existing agents that haven't utilized social media. Either they missed the boom of it, or they're still trying to figure out how to put it into their business. And they know that it takes a lot of time. Maybe they're uncomfortable posting, stuff like that. So I created this course. It's basically from the ground up. The Social Realtor is tailored for real estate agents to help them build their business. It talks about everything from deciding whether or not you're going to use your personal platform for your business platform, dividing that, what platforms you can utilize and why. So strategizing and utilizing a couple. I don't even use every single platform. You'll see on my TikTok, I fell off of that very quickly. Social media can become very overwhelming. So it's all about how to conquer that and make it work for you, using evergreen content, using recyclable content.
Repurpose is the word, the word I like to. People don't realize how, you sit there and spend hours creating video. Doesn't mean you can't show that same video 6 months from now.
Especially if you're utilizing like evergreen, or you're keeping like those clips. I reuse some of the same clips, but I put them into different positioned videos, or different target videos. And so some of my main ones that I focus on, honestly, Instagram repurposes to Facebook, and then I can also use that on YouTube Shorts. And YouTube Shorts right now is trying to compete with Reels and TikToks and stuff, so it's perfect because they'll boost your content. And if you can make it evergreen, meaning, yes, of course, I have property tours where the address is specifically there, but evergreen content, meaning you're focusing on like maybe just the neighborhood or like the educational piece of things, the process, stuff like that, is repurposed, and it doesn't matter at what time they're watching it, in what year they're watching it, but it still is relatable.
On really any of the social media platforms and the reels, they have the area where you're, saying something like, I might say, here's Taylor Allen, top real estate agent in Ponte Vedra, Florida. She's talking about social media, blah, blah, blah. And then I, of course, have a link directly to the podcast, right?
Yes.
How important is it to make sure you're filling out those description boxes?
I definitely think it's important. So now Meta and these platforms, they're changing things a lot. They're changing what they like, right? Right now, as a hot tip, they're really liking like the teaser hooks in the videos and then full form content in that caption. You're going to be able to write a lot more on Instagram Reels. So it's don't do this one thing, or I was doing this until this really worked, and here's the secret. Like little teasers, right? Because one, it keeps your video rolling in the background. It gets replays and replays, and then they like that. They're pushing it out more. But two, it keeps them on that page longer because they're reading through the process. Whereas when everything is in the video, it might be too quickly cycled, and then they're moving on.
Depending on the purpose of your Instagram Reel, YouTube short, because obviously, like you're saying, that TikTok, I was listening to somebody, TikTok is really focused on the time you're spending on it, right? Yeah. If you actually, because that's the whole thing of the hook line, is to get them through the first 5 seconds or whatever of the thing, and then at that point, they stay on for 5 seconds, they're likely to stay on for and watch the whole thing. They got some analytics on that.
Yeah.
But as far as someone looking for homes, you were, I'd say, obviously you got some Instagram videos where you're going through the doorway of the house. Hey, here's 123 Main Street, and you go in, type of thing. If someone's not looking for a home, they're not really, you don't really have a catchphrase like, oh my God, you got to see the inside of this house. It's a disaster. Then people are going to stay on and watch, right? Mm-hmm. So there's no hook at the beginning of those. Those have a different purpose. Am I right? Yeah,
and I think that fluctuating your content is good too, especially as you're trying to find your footing in the social space and understand what your audience wants from you, because the audience will determine that. It's going to show based on your views and in your insights what they actually want to see from you. I think overall these platforms are made for short form content, and that's why like the quick hits go so much further than some of these longer videos. Most people do fall off after 5 seconds, and if they're not completely hooked or there's no purpose for them to be there, then they're out. Right. The video could still do good, but are they really even getting to the juicy part at the end, And so you constantly have to reevaluate what you're doing in that space and change things up. I try different tactics. Some people do just love looking at pretty houses, so I'll do simple tours. Sometimes I am chatting to be more engaging, and I watch what trends, basically. Like, I always like to say, I'm not consuming, I'm producing, but I do consume for the purpose of understanding how the market's shifting. Right. And that market being social media. Like, what is being demanded in those videos for the audience, and being demanded in order to get higher view count, because even if they're not local, again, you're getting referrals from all of these individuals that are seeing you nationwide. You probably have a comment or take this way that you which way you want to take it, but I think the typical agent who's not like deep into social media as you are and understanding the algorithms and what we just talked about, that just needs to use it. Really just to be in front of just stay top of mind of their friends and family who are going to follow them because they're friends and family. Well,
they're going
to. So,
we hope so, yeah. But I mean, as a real estate agent, nothing like pierces you in the heart more than someone you've known for a while, and especially if you've been doing this business for a few years and have some success. Yeah. When a friend of yours goes with someone they don't know, right? Because they forgot that you were in real estate. Yep. Type of thing. Yeah. How important is just even at because I think this is the basic level of every agent's social media need, is just staying top of mind of their circle. And I think that's where video helps a lot, because there's ways to do that and remain top of mind. Like if you were to keep
your socials conjoined, then you may feel the pressure not to post so much into real estate, which is why I did separate mine. But if you are doing that and you choose to do that, there's still ways to incorporate real estate and make a fun, entertaining video, whether it is just a property tour or you at the house or you like in the oceanfront condo, you know, or back by the pool that they've got or something. It's like a little reminder of what's going on, but it's engaging content. You know, what I kind of get sick of posting or seeing, and I post this as well, is just closed or new to markets, which it's great content, but if you're not posting anything in between that's actually engaging, how engaging is that really? Like, it's one picture.
One panel after another.
Kind of like a brag. It's, you know, maybe you're not even doing a carousel post where they get to see the house and they're like, ooh, ah. And it's just like the face of the house, and it's just so stale. So I think even if you are doing that, again, I'm doing that too, but it's not all I'm doing. I'm incorporating a lot of personality.
Personality, that's the word I was going to use.
And that's what matters. So don't just add stuff like that to your personal page as a reminder, because people get sick of it and be like, oh yeah, Susie sold another house. Okay. But like, you're providing some value and some fun to it when you can get on camera and do that. And it takes time, especially for people that have not done social media, because it is awkward with a camera on your face. But
you know, I wanted to actually, because we were talking about very early about being comfortable in front of the camera, and I hear people do that all the time. And I was talking to my wife. She's not a video person, and she does not want to get in front of the camera. But obviously, many people come on here are nervous because they've never obviously done a podcast before. They know I'm streaming it, and it's going on there. But in reality, like, we don't even know these cameras right now. I'm looking at it to make sure everything's going right. But you and I are talking, and you don't even realize this is on. And that's, to me, that's like the first thing I said is just be you. Right. And Mr. Beast with YouTube, I've mentioned this before, and his recommendation is do 100 videos and see where you're at the end of the 100 videos. Because you have to start the journey. You have to screw up.
Everything. And don't get me wrong, I'm still sweating over here. But we power through. But that's so true. And that's with everything. Like, you're not good at something the first time you do it. Nobody expects you to be. But and I've become so passionate about this, and that doesn't mean I still don't sometimes retake my video 3 times, or, I don't like the angle that was at, like, let me over critique it. But honestly, if you can get to the point where you stop, you're always your hardest critic. Stop overthinking what you're doing. And yes, you should do it 100 times, because the first time that you put together a script for a listing or a buyer, like, I know that you stumbled through that, and you probably still do if you're not doing it every single day. Like, you're not going to just walk on pro field and MLB and hit some home runs. Like, you're gonna, they're gonna hit the ground. You're gonna have people diving for a minute. It takes time, and so.
But would you agree, your friends and family, who are your primary people, the people who already know you, are your primary followers?
Oh, they're the worst, though.
But they love you no matter what you do.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They know your imperfections.
Yes, they do. So it should be, so to your point, it should be easier if you were posting to family before you start to. But honestly, I kind of go the opposite direction on that. For me, it's always been easier performing, singing, all of that stuff in front of a room full of hundreds of strangers than it has been for me in front of my siblings, my husband. Right. He's like, why won't you sing in front of me? I'd rather stand in front of 1,000 people. So, I mean, maybe that's different for other people, but for me, actually, it is easier for people that maybe don't know me. But
I think everyone's worried about the feedback, but like I said, none of us are perfect. We are who we are in our uniqueness, and you just got to do it. I
always say, if someone's got that much feedback or that much commentary, then they need another job. Something to keep them a little bit more busy, because I don't have time to watch people like that.
Right. Turnover on the same subject of YouTube is not necessarily always called social media, but they went to the shorts. They've got shorts. How much of your content are you bringing in? To me, like we talked about pre-show, YouTube is a library. Yes. And someone's on Google and they're searching, your YouTube videos are going to pop up if it's part of the search mechanism. Yes. So if you're dropping those walkthroughs that you're doing, that you got on Instagram, and dropping them, if there's less than 60 seconds, dropping them into YouTube, they're going to pop up somewhere in a search. And obviously video, Instagram is different, and no one goes in. I don't know, does anyone go into Instagram and put, hey, I'm looking for homes in Northeast Florida?
Yeah, the search is different in Instagram, and that's where like the tags, the audio, And then what you are putting in your caption, because it doesn't like it when the caption isn't related to the content. So something in there is reading that. But YouTube is so underutilized too, honestly. And I think it was intimidating because it was always long form content. I always wanted to do YouTube, and I've really started running with it again now post babies, because it's a lot to keep up with for anybody, even somebody that knows social media. I was using it for long form content, so I got really excited about the shorts because you can repurpose that content rather than recreating or formatting it in a way that is not meant to be formatted. You know, the long form versus the vertical versus horizontal videos, and it's not as good when it's transcribed that way. You know, you want to use the platform for what it's meant for. So shorts for me is a really easy way to repurpose that content and reach a whole new audience. And then of course you can use that for different kinds of advertising, links, because Instagram and Facebook are not going to like you posting links and diverting from their platforms. So in YouTube, you can utilize that a little bit more.
You just opened actually something I never thought of before, but it's obvious. You know, you want to show people, especially if you've been doing this a while, you've got sales, where's a space that they can go to and say, oh, look at all these sales that they've done, or, you know, look at all these houses, at least they remember. Now you can go and scroll down through someone's profile page on Instagram and go, oh, you know, here's boom, 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 and I'll have all those different things. But I don't know, I guess if someone's really like me getting your background, I'm scrolling down through that, but the average person isn't. But on YouTube, when you pull up someone's YouTube channel, it says, hey, they've got X amount of videos and you've got all these shorts. It's your whole display of everything you've done is filed away right there in front of them to choose whether they want to do the long form or the short form. But they don't even have to click on the videos. Just seeing that they're there is another way to give you credibility that you're doing stuff.
You get a lot of validation through doing that. And then you know, people do business with people that they like. So social media is just another tool for people to know you, to like you, to trust you, and for you to convert them. So why wouldn't you use a free platform to accelerate your business?
We dabbled a little bit on different brokerages. You've tasted some brokerages. Took some nibbles, some appetizers, I guess, more or less. I think you have a different attitude, or mindset, whatever you want to call it, on what the brokerage should offer.
Yes.
I always want to know, you've been in the business, 3.5 years now, roughly. 3 years, right? 2020 to
4 September 1st.
Your girlfriends, I'm sure, have asked you many times, what's the be real. How important is it to really go out and search out? You've obviously have some experience. You could tell you a little bit, but to go out and actually have coffee with an agent that's at that brokerage, because the broker is going to tell you all the they're going to I don't say they're lying to you, but it's like an interview, right?
All smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's got the greatest training and the greatest technology. Okay, so all right, you've got that. Great, thanks. Let's talk about the other stuff, because that's what we really.
So I think with brokerages, I've never been fearful of transitions, because I've never really focused on what the broker can offer outside of understanding what the market demanded of me and what I needed to be able to be capable of doing, or keeping money in my pocket, because with real estate, a lot of people don't understand there's upfront costs when they're first getting in for new agents. I think new agents are in such a tough position because they really don't know who to go to that they can trust, unless of course a friend or a family member has already been in the market.
So when they have credibility, right?
Because they're hearing from all these brokerages, oh, more money in your pocket, or oh, we'll give you leads, or this, that, or the other, right? They don't understand. Okay, did you get into real estate to kind of, again, this is said loosely, but make your own schedule. Like not as I was on the phone till 10 o'clock last night. So why do you want to go sit at a desk and not be able to have appointments or face-to-face meetings with clients until after 5? You are in control of your business, and you're not even working for that brokerage, but you are representing that brokerage. And in my opinion, you need to make them work for you. They wouldn't have those sales without you, and you're paying a split on top of that. So different brokerages offer different things, and I've referred a lot of new agents or agents coming into the Florida market to specific brokerages that met what they needed. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. Are they completely new to the industry, and what kind of help are they going to need? Are they juggling multiple positions, or are they going all in on this? How much time can they dedicate? What's going to be helpful to them? Is it going to be the systems and processes that are in place? Is it going to be the in-house training that's there? Who do they have as a mentor potentially? So that's a lot of stuff to consider. And I think, I got in with a fantastic agent and friend, Idris Rahimi, who I hit the ground running with, and I was able to shadow him. And I never utilized a brokerage. I think I made my first call to a broker in the last month over a situation with a client that was not related to me. But so, I haven't really utilized them or any of the systems that they've put in place. It's really all fallen back on me.
You mentioned mentor there. You had somebody when you got in.
Yes.
How important was that in the quick start and success that you've had?
I think that was monumental. So, I mean, a lot of the times the brokerages, I've been at brokerages with an owner that has never sold a piece of real estate. I think that who you tie yourself to is so important, just like who you're, around in business, but looping my name in with him, but really just his work ethic overall, his business ethic, the way that he treated clients. So it helped me not only understand the process of contract to closing and like how we get through that, because that's pretty simple to learn. That's not all that difficult. Once you do it a few times, you know what you're talking about. But it's how to adapt in a changing market, what other resources you can use to change. How do you get creative? And we stuck together for quite a while, and we did that for each other, bouncing ideas off of each other. If we had a client where we were like, okay, this is the market in this neighborhood, what can we do to be creative? And I think it's so not only fun but great for your business, especially starting out, to partner with someone seasoned, but also if you can bring something to the table. He wasn't into marketing or some of those facets that I was into, and so we made a great partnership for a long time, and it was key in having my business take off as quickly as it did. So
he did business the way, even though you may not have actually thought about it, but he was doing the business the way that fit you as well. Would you agree? Was he was your mentor, as we use the term, took the bull by the horns? That was natural for you. You that's the way I want to run the show.
I kicked back a couple times. That's where we kind of work together and transition things. He is very by the book, and the way that he was taught was always at one brokerage. It wasn't until the bouncing around that I came into the picture. So there was a lot of, okay, your morning, like this is how your morning goes, your time blocking, this is what happens, which is all great too. You need to run your calendar can't run you the same way. You don't want clients running, the way that you do business. But we actually really developed a lot of that together too, I think. But it was definitely his knowledge of the industry, and overall I just really respected the way that he did business and how he treated his clients and really everybody that he engaged with.
I think you every transaction is different. Like every loan I do, everybody makes their money differently, whatever. They got this in their credit or whatever. Every house that you walk and you want to represent, not only is the buyer or seller different, being human, every house situation is different. Every problem that might be with the house, those are all changing constantly. And would you agree that I'm just reading into your mentor and any new agent coming in, to get that mentor, get yourself with someone who's seasoned, who has played the game enough times, they've seen the other plays, that the next play isn't a big deal, even though there might be something new, because you can relate to it back 3 years ago. You know what? I had a similar situation to that. This is how we want to, handle it, or this is how we should negotiate it, and then gives you a broader spectrum. Because I think a lot of people get in the industry and they only know what they know. Right. They don't know what they don't know. And being with that mentor, not only gives you the confidence that, I have a problem, let me call my mentor. They've probably worked with that. I'll get an answer here in a minute, type of thing. The confidence there. But just when you're having shop talks, water cooler talks, that you're expanding your horizon of real estate, because it's very large. Yeah.
And you have to be so creative. I mean, like you said, no transaction is ever the same. And so that probably did help with never having to contact the broker, because honestly, a lot of brokers aren't involved in the day-to-day, and they are more transactional. So I'm not speaking for all of them, but a lot of them are. And so if you pick up the phone and ask them a question, they may not even be the best person to ask. Like, They go take my broker's side. I'm not speaking for everyone, but
right.
This is why real estate gets a bad rep.
Yeah.
Even the agents are that way. And we
right.
fight a lot of stuff on the daily to, fix and maintain our reputation. And so I think partnering with somebody that did have had the same mindset as me, the same goals as me, we've still talked about future plans in the real estate space. I think that was very key in expediting and growing my business as quickly as
So a girlfriend comes to you, says, I'm going to join real estate. How can they find, what do they need to do? Because not only they might not get lucky to, maybe I don't even know if this mentor was the first person you really talked to and you guys just got together and just clicked. They may have to go and try to find someone who does business. How important is it to these top level real estate agents, at least the ones I've had in front of me, are all welcome to go have coffee with you.
Yeah.
And even the best brokers will tell you to go talk to other brokers.
Yeah. Right.
The ones that have the best reputations in town. That it's important pre-business to not, get your license. We understand that you're doing that, but while you're doing that, go have some coffee appointments. Go talk to actual agents. And really, I don't think a lot of them know what to ask is probably why. That's why I try to educate them with this podcast a little bit and hearing what you guys say is the real question is, how are you doing business? Because every agent does business a little bit different than the one next to them.
They do, and you hit the nail on the head. They don't know what to ask, which is why a lot of them get trapped at brokerages with fine print or, splits that don't make sense, but without offering what they need, so they don't have that help. And then they get around agents that maybe aren't willing to do that. I mean, that takes a lot of time, and if you have someone seasoned that's doing work, they might not have time for those phone calls and stuff. So you have to find someone willing that has that expertise and that knowledge to bring you under their belt. And I think there are a lot of those. Like, the longer I've been in, now I'm surrounded by like the top producers of Northeast Florida, and they have all asked to go get lunch and coffee. And I think that happens when someone is truly passionate about what they do too. I'm always more than happy to talk shop social media because I get super excited about it.
Right.
And real estate too. Like, I can't tell you, I think I've referred 5 agents in the last 6 months to brokerages.
You should be your own EXP or
Right.
LPT, right?
Yeah, but as long as they're in a good spot.
Yeah.
No, but really.
But I imagine because you either knew them, so you knew something about them, or asked them some questions about. So
From out of state, some new agents, and just understanding what they need, and I could share with them, the positives that I found. Despite me having transitioned, even from my last brokerage, I've sent so many people over to them because I think what they have set up is phenomenal, and the 2 brokers at Heron Real Estate are just incredible. So. And they know my stance on them as well, and obviously have personal reasons.
We love Heron. We've given Heron. I give Heron to Kristen is always on, and Kat on the social media.
They're doing great things, and my business just shifted a little bit, so I had that conversation with them, but. It is about what they don't know, and they don't know what to ask. And that's the same for the clients too. So I think,
sometimes it's just sitting down with experienced agents and asking, what should I be asking?
Yeah.
That's really the question.
The question they don't know to ask, right?
Yeah.
And I have had actually 2 clients ask me that on the sales side too. And I'm like, that's awesome. Let me tell you. And so honestly, a lot of my content when I was starting out too was all about interview your agent. And that can be said for new agents coming into the business too, or even before they jump in, because I saw a lot of agents get in about the time I did that quickly got out. They didn't know what they were getting into. They didn't understand it. There's a lot of misconception about what it actually takes to be in real estate. And so I think interview, which I never did, maybe I would have made a little bit less jumps, but it takes a lot to move your license to and reset up and get acclimated with new systems. So I think interviewing, like you said, not only the broker, because it can be smoke and mirrors, but the agents that are there they truly happy, and are they speaking to you from a place of they're not getting a back end, stipend for bringing you into the agency too.
They have a challenge, the broker or team lead, right? They got to stay out in front of their people. And, I hear this thing sometimes where people, I'm a non-competing broker. I'm not in production anymore. I'm talking to you, and I'm on your side. Okay, so how active are you involved in the real estate industry? And now, I'm going to do a call out to Howard Flashin over at Roundtable. He's very active in what's going on, as much as from a legal standpoint. He's involved at the board. He's, out there. He can make legit statements about the NAR settlement and that kind of things. And he's out in front and he's leading. So an agent has confidence going, or some of these guys, they were in production, now they get this group, and now they feel like, hey, I can take the day off, and they're not staying active in the industry and being a leader, not only in their office, but also, as we know now, especially in our lawsuit, how important it is now to be a donator at RPAC, and be involved in the local boards to stay abreast of the industry, because these guys are out here making decisions that might affect your business.
Exactly. Even if you're not in our space, right, you know that there have been crazy changes since 2020. And so to keep up to date with that and keep your mind basically in top shape, you have to stay practicing, you have to stay educating yourself to be able to properly serve your clients or your agents. So to that point, I really hadn't ever utilized a broker, and I had a good partner I could lean on, and if he didn't know, we figured it out together. It was never like a phone call to the broker. So I think that, in my opinion, that sales pitch about, you can call me for anything, that's not really needed. Find somebody that is actively in the industry doing what you want to do, that you respect how they're doing business, what they're doing, how they're running everything, the things that are important to you and how they built it, and shadow.
Right. I bet I covered everything here. We haven't talked about anything you want to add. Is there anything, just to call out, why should people be using Taylor for their real estate needs?
Yeah, I'm going to just say that nobody will work harder for you than I will. I have been running circles since 2020, back-to-back pregnancies, never stopped working, answering phones while in labor. And that's actually how I closed one deal for a client that was on tour. I was like, I can tell you right now, nobody else is going to beat me.
Well, you made a statement a few minutes ago. You were on the phone till at 10 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
And I try to make it a point on the show because of the NAR settlement. I really think, they got a journal in your gift bag there. Like, I think agents should be writing down every time they interact, just like a lawyer is tracking their time, because because I think it will create some social media reels, and share with people that, hey, maybe after the deal's done, you don't necessarily want to do it like today. Hey, I was talking about this client because they're getting a divorce, and I was consoling the wife or the husband last night at 10 o'clock at night, because those are things that real estate agents are doing on a daily basis at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night when they should be, I assume your kids are asleep by then, but by that time you want to be like shut out, right?
It's crazy, and some days are just like that, and I do love what I do. And last night, my daughter didn't get to bed till late either, because she thinks when Daddy puts her to bed, it's playtime. So that didn't work out too well, but it is. I think a lot of the people that will go around, and you will hear it time and time again, like, we make too much money, or there's no value, I'll sell by myself. Aside from the obvious facts of the platforms that we have access to, because there are a lot of agents that will just throw it up on the MLS, and I strongly disagree with that. There's a lot more that you can do. It's strategy, it's not luck. And so we have to constantly fight and work and provide that value to our clients. And, that's something that we take on in this industry. We work for ourselves. So you can work as little as you want and make as little as you want, or you can give yourself a raise at any time. And that doesn't mean, usually most of my deals are like obstacles come when I'm on my one vacation for the year. And that doesn't mean I can just tune out. That's part of the business that I took on, but I love it.
Yeah, that's Murphy's Law. As soon as you get on the cruise ship, that's when the phone starts ringing.
Maybe I need to take more cruises then. More business.
That's what we do. We got to get offshore. That way the phone doesn't work.
Then everybody will be
Taylor, I appreciate you coming on.
I really appreciate it.
I definitely would love for you, even if we just got on sometimes virtually for 15 minutes, so you got some new social media tips, promote people. If I'm assuming you're probably adding and adjusting some of the things because of how much social media is changing and updating your materials as well. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.